ধীরে ধীরে চালাও চুরি সীমারামারি গলায় Kurfan House Waaz Mahfil 2014 took place at 2 Kurfan House Shahzhan Pur and was presented in remembrance of Munshi Kurfanullah Rahmatullahi Alayhi. In this program, we will take a look at this Waaz Mahfil that was held on Monday, the 28th of April 2014 at 2 Kurfan House. In the following moments, we will look at 2 Kurfan House where the Waaz Mahfil took place. We will then look at the people behind the Waaz Mahfil. After that, we will look at the room where the event took place. Next, we will look at the audience. Afterwards, we will look at the shinni. Subsequently, we will look at the qaris. This will be followed by a look at the renowned scholars and their sermons. Then we will look at the final prayer. And finally, we will look at the chairman at the meeting. First, let us begin by taking a look at 2 Kurfan House where the 2014 Kurfan House Waaz Mahfil took place. Kurfan House was inherited in the late 1800s by Munshi Kurfanullah, a renowned Muslim priest who was born at the house. Munshi Kurfanullah, after whom the house has been named, was the son of Muhammad Shuzat Mamand, who was the son of Shah Kabil Mamand, who was the son of Shah Kesher Mamand, who was the son of Shahzhan Mamand Taluk, after whom the village of Shahzhan Pur has been named. 2 Kurfan House is now occupied when they return home by the Azad family. Kurfan House Waaz Mahfil 2014 was presented by the Azad family, whose head in 2014 is the immediate grandson of Munshi Kurfanullah, Muhammad Abul Kalam Azad. The Azad family, before organizing the Waaz Mahfil, held various meetings with leading members of Shahzhan Pur Juba Shamaz in order to formally discuss the event and seek advice and assistance. Shahzhan Pur Juba Shamaz is a small, exclusive group of people with a shared interest in religion and religious activities. Some of the main members of Shahzhan Pur Juba Shamaz who were keen on the Waaz Mahfil at 2 Kurfan House and were providing aid and assistance were Maulana Rustum Ali, Abdul Rakib, Abdul Rafiq, Shuhail Mia and Khosru Mia. Kurfan House Waaz Mahfil 2014 was supported by many village elders, some of whom attended and were also present at the event. Of these village elders, 2 of the more religious who supported and were present at the event were Muhammad Khalik Mia and Mahmud Ali. Kurfan House Waaz Mahfil 2014 took place in the large front room of 2 Kurfan House. In order to find good light, the northwestern area of the large front room was chosen to be the place where the speakers would sit and deliver their sermons. Hence, a seated area was prepared at the northwestern area of the large front room of 2 Kurfan House, from where speakers were to perform by placing a microphone and stand near a table beautified with flowers and covered with red material in front of a large, comfortable seat. To make the background of the speakers more attractive and to announce and remind them of the event, a banner was stuck on the northwestern wall of the large front room. The banner was designed by Shuhail Mia. Before the Waaz Mahfil, to provide seating areas for the spectators and listeners who were expected to assemble at the event, and a place for them to eat the shinni, bamboo mats were placed on the floor of the large front room of 2 Kurfan House. On the day, having heard about the Waaz Mahfil, interested and excited audiences travelled long distances to get to the lively event at 2 Kurfan House, filling the house and its rooms. The Azad family prepared a biryani shinni for the spectators and visitors. Shinnis, which are religious meals prepared to feed the rich and poor and thus obtain God's blessings, are usually given after the sermons at Waaz Mahfils. However, due to the heat of the very warm weather, the organizers of Kurfan House Waaz Mahfil 2014 decided to give the shinni to the audience before the sermons. And so before the sermons, plates and packets of biryani were given out from the kitchen of Kurfan House. The visitors in the large front room of Kurfan House, some sat on chairs and others sat on the bamboo mats laid out for them and ate the biryani shinni.
So Ibrahim, don't do that. Are you going to disturb me again?
After eating the shinni, the visitors, as they waited for the sermons to begin, engaged each other in conversation. To listen to the sermons, the audience gathered in the large front room of Kurfan House. Some sat on chairs in the southern and eastern area of the room, and others sat on the laid-out bamboo mats in the center and northern area of the room as they waited for the program to begin. The program was started by two qaris who recited verses from the Holy Quran. Each qari is also a hafiz, which means a memorizer of the Holy Quran. To deliver sermons at Kurfan House, the Azad family, who organized the event, invited renowned scholars. These scholars were from strict Sunni Muslim schools, which strongly disapprove of any kind of electronic media used to preserve any kind of religious program. Hence, the invited scholars needed a little persuading to be recorded and filmed. One of these scholars was the renowned and charismatic preacher from Shahzhan Pur, Maulana Abdul Malik. The other renowned preacher was Maulana Rustum Ali. Maulana Abdul Malik delivered a sermon in the afternoon entitled Joining the Tabligh Jamaat. In this sermon, Maulana Abdul Malik first talks about gratitude, people's love for the dunya, how we have to leave the dunya, and why we are here. The Maulana then talks about knowledge needed to become Allah's servant, proper Quranic recitation, joining the Tabligh Jamaat, the benefits of joining the Tabligh Jamaat, the Prophet, peace be upon him, and the Sahabas, and the Prophet, peace be upon him, his Sunnah. The Maulana finally talks about the Sunnah of keeping a beard, the love of the Prophet, peace be upon him, Abu Bakr Siddiq, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, his love for the Prophet, and the Sahaba's love for the Prophet. The full sermon, entitled Joining the Tabligh Jamaat, delivered by Maulana Abdul Malik, at the 2014 Kurfan House Waaz Mahfil at 2 Kurfan House can be heard on CD or DVD produced by AK Azad Productions. The next scholar was the renowned preacher from Shahzhan Pur, Maulana Rustum Ali. Maulana Rustum Ali delivered a sermon entitled Fearing Allah and Speaking Clearly. In this sermon, Maulana Rustum Ali first talks about gratitude and thanking Allah for provision. The Maulana then talks about fearing Allah and speaking clearly and the benefits of doing so. And finally, the Maulana talks about those who fear Allah and follow the Prophet, peace be upon him, and the Sahaba's fear of Allah. The full sermon entitled Fearing Allah and Speaking Clearly, delivered by Maulana Rustum Ali at the 2014 Kurfan House Waaz Mahfil at 2 Kurfan House, can also be heard on CD or DVD produced by AK Azad Productions. The event closed with a final, fairly lengthy prayer, which was made with the audience by Maulana Abdul Malik. During his prayers, Maulana Abdul Malik also, as his immediate grandson, prays for Munshi Kurfanullah. The person appointed to be the chairman at the event was Hafiz Muhammad Abdus Salam. Hafiz Muhammad Abdus Salam from Shahzhan Pur is also the immediate grandson of Munshi Muhammad Kurfanullah. In the preceding moments, we looked at 2 Kurfan House where the Waaz Mahfil took place. We then looked at the people behind the Waaz Mahfil. After that, we looked at the room where the event took place. Next, we looked at the audience. Afterwards, we looked at the Shinni. Subsequently, we looked at the Qaris. This was followed by a look at the renowned scholars and their sermons. Then we looked at the final prayer. And finally, we looked at the chairman at the meeting. That was the Waaz Mahfil that was held on Monday, the 28th of April 2014 at 2 Kurfan House that we took a look at in this program. Presented in remembrance of Munshi Kurfanullah, Kurfan House Waaz Mahfil 2014 took place at 2 Kurfan House, Shahzhan Pur.